Today's guest is Caleb from the band Hollow Hill, a band based in Provo, Utah. Hollow Hill has been making an impression in the local scene with an energetic live show and hard hitting sounds. Fresh off the release of their latest single, Stay With Me, welcome, Hollow Hill.
What's up, guys?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Good, man. Glad to be here. Thanks for having
Yeah,
me.
good to have you. So let's start back at the beginning of your personal story with music. Where were you born and raised, and how did music first come into your life?
I was born in Katy, Texas. I know nothing about Katy, Texas. I lived there for about a year. So fast forward, I grew up in Vancouver, Washington State, right across from Portland, Oregon, south of Seattle. Two places that are pretty well known for music. At least Seattle. You know, a lot of people have come out of there. Where we get a lot of influence from some of our sound. At least me personally. Um, yeah, there was not a whole lot that I knew going on with the music scene in Washington. Um, I didn't even know I really liked music that much until like fifth grade when I joined orchestra, picked up the violin, and honestly, it's sad. I hear a lot of people talk about playing orchestra or joining the band, right? Usually fifth grade, kind of through middle school, people pick up either the band or orchestra, and they have horrible experiences. I was blessed to have a really awesome teacher, conductor, and Mrs. Brocious. If anyone ever sees this and knows who that is, right
Shout out
on.
Miss Brocious.
Yeah, shout out Miss Brocious, Pacific Middle School or wherever she's at now. But that's where I realized, holy crap, I like music. Like discovering how to do vibrato and stuff, like making different sounds and sound the way you want it, especially through strings. I was like, this is freaking sick. So I did that from fifth grade to eighth grade. And then getting into high school, I didn't think I'd have a whole lot of time to actually stay in orchestra and stuff with the sports I got into and whatnot. Um, but I still want to continue with music. And one day in the car, my dad, we were listening to, I think it was Earth, Wind, and Fire, probably. And he pointed out the bass line of one of the songs. He's like, "Oh, do you hear that bass line?" It's like, "What the is the bass? Like, I don't know what the bass is." And that's where I discovered he loved the bass and he wanted to learn bass his whole life, but never had. So I bought him a bass off Craigslist, and I was like, "Now you have to buy me a guitar." And so he bought me a guitar, and we started learning songs together. And that's where I started learning the guitar, playing the guitar, and getting more into rock, I guess you could say. I grew up with listening to whatever was on the radio, but once I got to like high school, started listening to a lot more rock. That's where I think I found my sound. Met some cool friends. Where I started playing with them in their church band. Um, they wanted to start writing original stuff, so we started doing that. And ever since then, I've been writing music.
Wow, that's so cool. There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
What did your parents listen to? I mean, so you listened to like, stuff on the radio, like Earth, Wind, and Fire. Was your mom influenced by music at all? Or were your parents like heavily involved in music, or was it kind of just, a casual listen in the radio thing?
My mom, I've had a hard time trying to figure out exactly what her taste is. My dad grew up, 60s and 70s. That's all I grew up listening to is whatever was on the radio. And then if I'm in the car with my dad, Earth, Wind, and Fire, Chicago. That was my first concert I ever went to, was those guys. But my mom, I mean, she gave piano lessons to like my sisters and stuff. I know she likes music. I think the stuff she enjoys most is probably anything that sounds kind of like old Coldplay.
Okay.
She
Yes.
likes chill stuff. She doesn't like when, even in my own music, when I raise my voice. I don't think she's a huge fan of that. But no, she likes to dance and stuff. So anything that's got a good beat, I think she likes. I should
Gotcha. That's cool.
find out a
Yeah, for
little bit
sure.
more.
Yeah. So when you decided, or when you finally started catching on to music for yourself, like you started playing guitar and all that, what music were you drawn to? I mean, I'm assuming it wasn't quite the same as your parents, or was it?
No, um, I was kind of immediately drawn to more stuff that they typically, and not everyone would enjoy. I think we used to have iTunes, and or was it Windows Media Player or something, whatever the old thing was.
Yeah.
And amidst all of those songs, I saw Down with the Sickness by Disturbed. And I don't know why. It was probably right next to freaking Blue. You know that one song?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was like
Both
those
classic.
old,
Yeah.
old songs, and then just I started listening to that. And then I think from there I got into like Linkin Park and stuff. So I got into some pretty heavy stuff pretty young. It's not like super heavy, but for most people, like my parents, most people that age, it was pretty heavy. Started getting into them, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Muse, Incubus, Green Day, anything alt rock, punk rock. Um, yeah, man. But I kind of range all over the place. Like I say, I mentioned old Coldplay. We listen to them all the time. Old Maroon 5. I say old because I like their old stuff a lot better than new stuff. No offense to them. You're legends, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So you mentioned you joined a high school band, it sounds like. What was that band like? Like, what did it sound like? And what was your dynamic in the band? Were you writing songs or did you have to learn write songs? What was that experience like?
So the band in high school, I started jamming with them. I think it was like my sophomore year. Not too far off from what Hollow Hill is doing. We leaned a little bit more towards kind of like a two-door cinema club type vibe. They were a big influence for us. Um, but we had a little mix of a little bit of a Weezer sound. I don't know, we could get a little heavier, but definitely more upbeat two-door cinema club type vibe. And I was playing bass in that band. Um, I had just picked it up for the band, started learning, but I wasn't. When I first started jamming with them, they already had some songs that they had like. So when I say they, there's our guitarist Jackson Shinpa and our drummer Sean Backstrom. These guys, are my homies. I love those guys. They're both out in LA living together right now, still doing stuff with music.
Awesome.
Uh, and so yeah, Sean was on the drums and Jackson would just lay down some sick riffs and I would just try to follow along on the bass. And started out like that. But then once we started deciding we actually want to do something, we actually wanted to do something with it. That's when I'd go home and start, you know, writing my own stuff and bringing it to the band and stuff. And luckily it fit right in. So we were able to use some of that, but um, that didn't go too far. We were just in high school. We played it our junior year of prom, and then that was about it. But
Awesome.
yeah, so I wasn't doing a ton of the songwriting, but I was writing my own bass lines, or sometimes I'd write the guitar riff, and then the other guitarists would write the bass line. Like we were kind of all over the place, but I joined that band, so I kind of just sat in the background a little bit, let them do
Yeah.
their thing.
Yeah, for sure. How would you compare the songs you used to write with them to the songs you write now? Like, how has your personal songwriting or even just instrumental writing progressed?
Well, I guess I missed one thing. I did write the lyrics for all of our songs. And so I don't know why our guitarist, he also sang. He had a great voice, but at that time he had a hard time, I guess, coming up with lyrics. Now he does all of his own stuff just fine. But at that time I was writing all the lyrics. And so that kind of carried over into this. I started jamming on just the most basic chord progressions. And if you listen to any of our songs, we only have 2 out on Spotify right now, but like planning on a lot more in the future here soon, hopefully. But they're super simple, like chord progressions. So I'd start going on those chord progressions and start humming a melody and coming up with lyrics. I love coming up with lyrics, even if they suck or just super simple. But so that's kind of where it led to is when I started Hollow Hill. The reason I wanted to start a band again later on, like almost even post college days, because I had all these songs that I had written since high school. I served a mission for my church, and like I could not go those 2 years without writing songs like almost daily. Honestly, I was coming back and something was in my head during that day, and I was writing it down. Um, so I had so many songs written that I wanted to get out, that I want people to hear. And so I met Owen, Owen Ferguson, who is our lead guitarist for Hollow Hill. Met him. He was just chilling out by the pool at an old apartment complex in Provo. and got his number, got his digits, and we ended up jamming like a month later, I think it was. And shout out to that guy. Props to him. He's kind of a different style. He's more of a blues guitarist, but he's like, hey, dude, if you want to start a band, like, I'll do it with you. Um, and so shout out for him to him for kind of even learning a whole new style because we're kind of more alt rock, almost punk rock, about palm muting chugs and stuff. And the dude wails when he needs to on solos and stuff. So,
That's
uh,
awesome.
but yeah, so I'm still kind of right now. We're just getting out songs that I kind of already had written for a really long time, and but we're working on stuff together as well, stuff that we're
That's
writing
awesome.
together.
So for those who aren't familiar with kind of, how things go with, I guess, here in Utah, church culture is very familiar. Like people go on these missions for 2 years and leave behind music and stuff. But for those who might not have heard about those experiences, whatever, what was it like to leave behind music for 2 years? Was that hard for you? Or is it something that just, felt natural to kind of leave to the side and come back to? And then did your how that affect your personal skills?
Yeah. I mean, anyone who's played guitar or any instrument, I guess, knows that even if you go just like a week or two, sometimes um, it can be hard to get back into it a little bit. Sometimes it's like riding a bike, but sometimes like at that time before I left on my mission, I still was relatively new. So like if I went 2 weeks without playing the guitar, which hardly ever happened, like I'd lose my calluses and stuff. So when I went on my mission, I was like, crap, dude, 2 years without playing the guitar. Like I wonder how this is gonna go. And I was honestly terrified. I was terrified in general to go on my mission. I mean, it's the daunting thing, but I was afraid, nervous, I could say, to leave home and stuff, be away from family and friends that long. And for our missions for the LDS church, uh, we typically aren't allowed or aren't supposed to listen to music that distracts from the Holy Spirit. So a lot of music that I listen to, uh, it's usually more chill stuff we're supposed to listen to. So it was really hard going that long without listening to the kind of music that I typically like to listen to. Um, 2 years later, towards the end of my mission, with like a month left, luckily, I don't know how, but some other missionaries got their hands on a guitar. So I was in Liberia, West Africa,
Wow.
and not a whole lot of quality instruments and stuff over there. Um, they got their hands on an acoustic guitar, and none of them played. Neither of them played it. I think a member gifted it to them somehow, and they're like, "Hey, you want it?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll take it. I mean, I'm not going to keep it, but I'll take it back to my apartment." So I started just fiddling on it again. That's where I wrote actually quite a few songs that we got coming out here. Some that you even hear live currently. I wrote at the end of my mission, so wasn't necessarily supposed to do that, but I couldn't help myself. But no, it was definitely the struggle for me to be away from music for that long. Not a single day went by that a song wasn't in my head, including songs from like back home, like "Down with the Sickness" by Disturbed. Sometimes that would come into my head on my mission as I'm about to go to someone's home, teach them about Jesus Christ. So
That's interesting. That's awesome, man.
yeah, can't escape me, can't get away from me.
Yeah. So when you came back, was it kind of like you had to slowly adjust to getting into music again, or did it kind of just all come right back like a fire?
It, I've, I can't remember if like learning the guitar was hard again. I think it kind of came right back. Of course, I had to get my calluses back and all that. I was cramping up and getting really tired really fast. But the moment I got home, so again, even before I got home, I got on the internet and looked up what gear I was gonna buy. Right when the moment I got home, and I started buying some of my own recording equipment and stuff. And so I got right to it, recording little demos and stuff of songs I wanted to do. Um, and luckily, my friend Jackson Shinpaw that I mentioned, who was guitarist in my old band, he was at home in Vancouver, Washington when I got there. So he would come over, record some of his vocals over stuff, and the dude was just so chill, total bro, just there to help me out. But yeah, I got right back into it when I got home.
Awesome. So yeah, you mentioned kind of the beginning of the Orchards of Hollow Hill, it sounded like, by meeting that guy at the pool and then taking off from there. What are the rest of the bandmates? Where'd they come from? And how did you all meet? And what was it like first getting going with Hollow Hill?
Yeah. So Owen and I started jamming. We jammed for probably about a month or so before we started looking for another bassist or whatever. And we jammed with a lot of cool guys, a lot of really cool guys. But as you know, as any musician knows, sometimes it's just not quite the right fit. Uh, and so the next person that we got was Peter, I think. Yeah, it was Peter Kemp, who is our bassist. And he actually was going to be our vocalist. Peter, if anyone's ever heard Peter sing, it's not like the music that you hear us playing. He's got an angelic, soft voice, deep, very deep voice, even just when he speaks. And but he can like the lowest voice you'll hear when he's talking. He can sing that low, but then also he can sing super high pitch. His falsetto is beautiful. It's just like, what is happening? But so we intend on using some of that in the future. I hope. I think. And but anyway, so we were doing that, and then the bassist we were jamming with, I think, didn't work out. We asked Peter, "Hey, you want to jump on the bass?" We knew he played acoustic guitar a little bit, but he had never played bass before. And shout out to him for picking up the bass. I have a bass guitar from when I played, and he's been using that. So the dude doesn't even have his own gear, and he's picking up the bass and just killing it. So props to him for putting in the time and the effort. So he is now our bassist. I started looking for a vocalist, and I was just going through Instagram. Honestly, I was just scrolling through Instagram, different musicians' pages and stuff, and came across Mason Daly, who had some of his own solo stuff on Spotify. I was able to listen to, and it freaking kicked butt, man. And I was like, oh, dude, I hope this guy's not in a band, or like I didn't know anything about him really. Not a lot to go off of in his Instagram or whatever. So I reached out to him. I was like, hey, dude, you want to jam? Looking for a rock vocalist. He's like, yeah, man. So, and luckily that stuck with him. And then our drummer is a friend of our bassist who he reached out to. We went over and jammed with him. The dude, he studied music theory at UVU. He was the drummer for like the school band and stuff, like at all the games and stuff. It's that dude. If there's anyone in our band that's a master of his instrument, it's Tyler Ruiz. Give him a follow. That dude is a killer drummer, man. I think after all of our shows, the number one compliment we get is, dude, you're drummer. Exactly. It's just like, yeah, we know. But
That's awesome.
yeah, man, it just kind of came together like that.
Yeah, that's cool. It sounds like you have a great squad going.
Yeah.
So when you did come together, how'd the songwriting process go? Did you guys have old songs that you guys wrote individually that you kind of just brought back, or did you all write songs together? How'd you choose what to make?
That's the hard part. I'm being honest. That's the really hard part, because when I first started, when Owen and I started jamming together for the first time, again, he had kind of a different style of just the way he played, the music he listens to and stuff. And I told him, I was like, hey, I'm kind of starting this band because I have a lot of my own stuff that I want to get out. But one of the things, even though I have a bunch of songs I want to get out, one of the biggest things I miss is the songwriting process, like just coming up with stuff together as a band. And so what we've done so far is we've jammed to most of my stuff. But obviously anything you hear us play isn't just 100% me. Everyone adds their own flair, brings their own thing to it. Mason doesn't sing it exactly the way that I wrote it, right? Because he's got his own touch. Owen, who's a blues guitarist, and I don't even know my own scales, so he obviously does his own cool little things, cool licks and stuff. So everyone adds their own little flair to what I originally wrote. But then also, I think I mentioned this maybe a little bit earlier, as we're trying to release more music, we've already began incorporating songs that we are writing together as a band. And some of those come from like Owen, our guitarist. He'll come to me and we have a song, Mess of Sin. It's called Mess of Sin, that we play live right now. And beginning is very, very chill, I guess you could say. That's the song he brought to me. And as I listened to it, and as he was showing me for the first time, I was like, dude, do you mind if I kind of take that and roll with it a little bit and turn it a little heavier at some parts? He's like, yeah, man, go for it. And so that song is a complete mix of like his original chord progression and little licks, and then I kind of added some up and down, I guess, some tension and release at the vocals and stuff. But so far it's been, so yeah, to clarify, I guess, so far it's been mostly stuff that I'd had already worked on, with everyone adding their own little flair. But right about now, or as of like a couple months ago, we've been starting to work on some new ideas as a band and bringing it together. So
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, so you mentioned, you played some live shows. I know you guys have a relatively fresh discography, just a few releases out right now. But you have been playing live shows, and that's personally where we met, is watching you play full live sets. How have those live shows been for you guys? What has your experience been so far? I know COVID's been kind of a hard thing to get through, but when did you start getting back into live?
so you met me at our second show. That was only our second show.
Wow.
The Boardwalk in Orem. And our first show was a month and a half before that at the same place. So we were pretty fresh, and we still are pretty fresh. We've only played one show since then. And that was in Rexburg, Idaho, at the Basement. So we don't have a ton of experience under our belt yet playing live shows. But yeah. So when was that? What was the date of that show that you and I met? That was,
I want to say it is February sometime.
months ago. Yeah. So January. I think January was our first show.
Wow.
And just a couple weeks ago, we had our third show.
Wow.
And we've got one actually this coming Saturday, May 8th, at the Boardwalk as well. That'll be number 4. So
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, the way you guys played, you couldn't even tell you were so fresh to it. So that's awesome.
appreciate that, man.
You're off to a great start.
It's fun. It's a ton of fun, man. So
absolutely. So is this your first time playing real shows with the band, or did you play with that band in high school?
So that band in high school, we started out, again, the reason they even invited me to come jam with them is because their Christian rock band needed a bassist. So I was like, I'll pick up the bass. And so I was jamming with them at their church for like youth groups and stuff. So I don't know if you can call those live shows, live concerts. They're not concerts, really. I don't know what you consider them, but
yeah, it feels like a different.
You got the people out there with the projector behind you with the words and stuff, and everyone's got their hands up. It's cool. That at least gave me exposure to what that feels like, and that's when I was like, dude, this is fun. Like, I want to do this more. And then we played at prom in high school, so that was dope. That was the most people I'd ever played in front of, and it was freaking sick.
So it sounds
that's
like
all that that's personally all that I had ever done before Hollow Hill. And
gotcha.
then I think it's different though for other people in our band. I think Mason, our lead singer, played drums for oh boy, I might butcher this name, Rubel 3. Is that even close? I don't know. Look it up. And then our drummer Tyler, he's opened up for bands with his old band, like such as like Linkin Park. He's opened up for them.
Oh wow.
And like a bunch of other bands at festivals and stuff, like back in his day with those bands, like heavy metal bands kind of. Owen he's played in bands before me. Honestly, I might have the least experience like playing live in front of people. Peter Kemp, our bassist, the guy with the angelic voice, he toured out of country playing solo violin.
Oh wow.
So I honestly, even though like I started the band or whatever, like I'm probably the least experienced musician in the whole group. So I'm really grateful for the guys that I have around me.
Yeah, I'm sure it's been a huge help.
A lot of talent around me.
Yeah. I'm sure they've been able to help you with your experience, and help you to like get settled into the whole experience and all that. So that's awesome. Man. What's coming up for you guys as a band in terms of recordings?
There you go. That's a good one that I wish I had a solid answer to. Yeah. But we are trying to think of which songs we want to put on an EP. We were thinking of doing an album. We have more than enough for an album or even 2 albums right now. which sucks because even when we play a live set, we can only have enough time for like 6 or 7 songs. But we've got a lot of stuff that we want people to hear. So right now, I think the tentative plan is this summer, we're gonna start recording an EP, maybe 5, 6, maybe 7 songs. Um, so
Awesome.
hopefully that can work out.
Yeah. Do you
We
guys
want people to hear what we got.
absolutely. Does your live show and the audience response to these songs you're playing live now, does that affect what you guys will see going on the EP?
It's a good question. It's been different each show, honestly. I feel, I mean, the first show, obviously, no one knows who we are. So it's hard to really judge if people are digging it or not because people are kind of, reserved a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit when they, who are
That's
these
the
guys?
beginning. Yeah.
But we have no reputation. We had like, I don't know, 30 followers on Instagram. Uh, but our last 2 shows, especially our most recent one in Rexburg, that one was a freaking party. I mean, we had I think like 8 or so fans that know all the words to our songs, even the ones that like we don't have recorded, that drove up to Rexburg and were in the front row with us, getting everyone going and stuff. Um, so it's hard to judge which ones people really like the most because when you have awesome fans like that go hard to every single song, it's hard to tell. But I think this EP will probably focus on some of those songs that people have heard live. That way, they can have it in their pocket at all times because they know them. We know that they enjoy them. They probably are curious to know what the actual words are. They want to listen to it. So I think we're gonna do a few of the songs, at least a few of the songs that we've been doing live, mixed with a few that we've been writing as a band.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's cool to hear. Do you have any shows lined up besides the one this Saturday? Do you have any possibly this
Yeah,
summer, or is it all just kind of figuring it out as you go right now?
we do actually. It's hard. So our guitarist Owen is leaving to do some sales, but it was on condition, and they approved of this that he can fly back for our gigs.
Wow.
So we've got again, yeah, we got this one this Saturday, May 8th, and then we've got one planned for July 16th with Southernmost Gravy and a couple other bands. That's at the Boardwalk, and then we have potentially right before that. This one's still potential, but Rexburg, the basement, is putting on a festival. I think they said July 10th that they invited us to. And so we might be part of that. We're still figuring out if Owens can be able to make it back or not, but we're like 90% sure we'll be able to make that. So July 10th, July 16th, and then tentatively something in the works in August, but I can't give too many details on that. That would be in like New Mexico. It'd be a
Oh,
bigger
wow.
thing.
That's
But
awesome. Yeah, sounds like you guys have a
give it
great
a
summer
chance.
coming up.
Yeah, man.
That's cool. What are your long-term goals as a band? Like, what do you guys hope to accomplish?
Dude, I can only speak for myself, I guess. Um, I mean, I hope everyone else is on board. Again, we're still pretty dang fresh.
Yeah,
Some people are in school, some people are working, starting their own businesses and stuff. So it's hard to see long term what it will be, but what tentatively right now, what we all would like, obviously, is for our music to take off. And I mean, even just that little taste of traveling up to Rexburg, it was freaking fun, man. We'd love to go around and go on little tours and show people what we got. But if we could get to the point of having steady monthly listeners on Spotify or whatever, to where the music at least pays for itself, even if we're not making a huge profit, I think that's the goal right now. Because as I'm sure you know, there's a lot of local bands here in the Provo, Orem, Salt Lake area that absolutely have made that happen for them. Even bands that most people don't even know of, they're able to get to listens and stuff. People like their music enough to where the music pays for itself now on Spotify and stuff. So if we could do that, I think that'll help us really see more clearly what we are going to be able to do, what we want to do. For me, I want to make this my life. I'll put that out there. If I can make Hollow Hill my life, and I absolutely would. It kind of is right now. That's majority of what my time and efforts and thoughts go into 24/7.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And it seems like you guys are off to a great start. I mean, like I said, you guys had such a tight sound on just your second show. and you're having people go up to Rexburg already who know your songs. So things are starting to tumble, I guess, and in a good way, and like snowball. And it's exciting to see it happen. So I'm excited to see where you guys go and what's coming up next for you, especially this summer with all these new shows.